Dialga V-Star, and you start to turn the tide with multiple turns in a row, which is unheard of in the TCG, but Derrick's going to have a little bit of an uphill climb here. Let's at least see, and he's not even going first this game either, so Caleb certainly with the upper hand to start things off.
Caleb starting out with a Battle Pass, of course, a card that has seen play since its introduction in Infusion Strike, allowing you to grab any 2 basic Pokemon, but only play on the first turn. And while Caleb is searching through the deck, checking the prize cards, I want to talk a little bit about Derrick's deck. Dialga V-Star is a deck we have not seen in a while. Derrick actually played this on stream back at the Wisconsin Regional Championships last year. Kyle, what is putting this deck back at the front of the meta at this point?
Stubbornness. That's about it, honestly, for Derrick. He said I haven't played Pokemon in a few months, and this is the deck that I love. It's already done so well for him already. He's probably the second prominent most player of the Dialga deck compared to Xander Perot, and Xander didn't want to do that. He instead played this very wacky Mew variant with the Aerodactyl, so it's great to see that Derrick decided, you know, this is the deck that got me to the dance. I'm going to keep on going with it, and it actually lines up fairly well with the metagame right now. Just getting multiple attacks off into these single prize decks and finding ways to disrupt them with your supporter cards is so beneficial right now.
And if you've watched the Lost Zone engine on stream before, this is no surprise what Caleb is trying to do early on with this deck, using Flower Selecting, allowing you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, putting one in your hand and one in the Lost Zone. And of course, once a card is in the Lost Zone, it's gone. So, I mean, why would you want to get rid of your own cards? Of course, this whole deck's engine is to power the attacks and abilities of these Pokemon in the Lost Zone. You already see the Sableye, which could be a key piece here in getting some damage onto these Dialga V-Star early.
Yeah, and this looks like a fantastic opening start here for Caleb. Already cycling through with the Comb Phase, getting those cards into the Lost Zone, and looking at the hand too. We see a ton of copies of the Colress's Experiment, so this is going to be a fantastic start. We could easily see the Mirage Gate on the 2nd or 3rd turn.
So tough, have a couple of Lost Zones there. Had to get rid of a Mirage Gate early. The choice was between that and Energy Recycler, and of course having that access later on. But Derrick, you're going to utilize that old school Energy Search to look through the deck. I'm not even going to try to say the set. Every time I say the set of an old school card, I end up getting it wrong, but will still act the same as Energy Search has always acted. Looking through the deck, going to have the bad news very quickly that 2 Metal Saucer are unavailable. But then besides that, no way to search out Dialga right away.
Yeah, maybe just going to have to telegraph the opening attacker in this deck, which is generally going to be that Origin form Dialga V, getting those energies down. So Caleb will at least see that, and that's where cards like that Sableye are so impactful. You might be able to get some extra damage onto that Pokemon before it gets going and starts taking those turns back to back.
Zacian V, one of the poor starters in this deck, playing 4 copies of the Mew from Celebrations. That is the card you want to play. You don't play 4 because you want to bench all 4 in your deck. You play it because you want to increase the odds of starting it. And Derrick, unable to be able to utilize Mysterious Tail to try and find some of these trainer cards, could be a big deal. Even see the attachment onto the Zacian just to try and draw some more cards using the draw effect of Serena, really looking to find Mew or a way to search Pokemon out. And no,
wow,
none of those cards at all. This is so poor here. Has already committed the attachment for a turn. No Pokemon to go into. What can you do here but end your turn with Intrepid Sword? If there's any energy cards, could threaten an attack on the following turn. But no, finds nothing there. A few cards for next turn. But there is the potential for Caleb to potentially steal this game away. If there's 7 cards in the Lost Zone, we know Dragonite V, the stellar card in Caleb's deck, and that does enough damage to potentially knock out the Zacian. Have to imagine that might be what Caleb is looking at. As we see another Colress's Experiment. Few choices to think about. I see that Cramorant is a great attacker to utilize this turn, but there's also pretty key resources in the hand. Mirage Gate has already hit the Lost Zone. You can't afford to get rid of too many of those. What is the choice here? Having to get rid of an Energy Recycler, that's a key piece later on. Yeah,
I do like this. You do see the Escape Rope go to the hand now too, so that means that you're going to have another effect of that Comfy once more. Get more cards into the Lost Zone here. At least that's an easier choice there in the Battle VIP Pass, and thankfully also just finding the Lightning Energy is a decent find. You would like to find the Water, as that's generally the one that you're going to be attaching for the turn for the Dragonite V, but having any energy right now is solid.
So with the hand right now for Caleb, we'll be up to 6 cards in the Lost Zone, but there's no way to find Dragonite. Quick Ball is one of the choices off of the Flower Selecting on this active Comfy, but even just hitting in with Cramorant doesn't seem too terrible. You damage this active Pokemon, apply some pressure. I think Caleb is really just trying to think about how many energy can I put away in this Lost Zone? My opponent's deck is very aggressive. Of course, Dialga having one of the most powerful V-Star attacks in the game. Star Chronos allowing you to take an extra turn. That's up there for the most powerful things your deck can possibly do.
Well, we'll see if that's even available. If Caleb gets rolling here, then we might not see another turn from Derrick, as we're going to see the quick ball now. Going through the deck a little further now, we do see the Comfy is in hand, so if the escape rope happens with that, then of course you can continue to get more cards into the Lost Zone, get to that magical number 7, and it looks like Oranguru might be the Pokemon here to help out in solidifying what could be a game-closing strategy here on turn 2.
So 6 cards in the Lost Zone, 1 short to activate that Mirage Gate, the acceleration engine in this deck to apply more pressure. But the Oranguru coming down, Primate Wisdom is great. It can stack this card on the top of the deck for the next turn. And smartly, putting the Colress's Experiment wants to protect against a potential Marnie. This hand is very sizable, has a lot of great resources. We haven't even seen a retreat yet, which means this Comfy can manual retreat out, discard the Lightning Energy. And because there are 4 cards in the Lost Zone, Lost Provisions will allow this Cramorant to attack for 0 energy, spit innocently, 110 damage. Zacian V is a low HP Pokemon in the sense of a V. Finally, though, finding the Mew off the top of the deck, but with how poor that start went, Derrick already on the back foot against an aggressive Lost Zone engine. What do you think? Is it too little too late, even though it's only been 1 turn for Derrick?
I mean, that was the Pokemon that he was looking for. He held on to cards like the Scoop Up Net before using the Serena, understanding that that is such an important piece to continuing to chain together all of these draws. And sure enough, finds the Mew now, has the Quick Ball too, and we'll see multiple uses of that Scoop Up Net this turn.
So, of course, Mysterious Tail, very similar to Jirachi's Stellar Wish ability back in the Team Up expansion. A little bit worse, I'd say. Only can find item cards as another Trekking Shoes gets played. Has to keep that Origin form, the Dialga V-Star, because the other one is in the prize cards. Of course, with this deck being so aggressive, you can afford to play a lot thinner of a line on your Dialga. The whole goal is to just try and go in with one big boy who can take extra turns and deal extra damage. I think the choices here pretty solid. Does have Ultra Ball, and that can grab out some more of these Pokemon. Of course, having multiple Scoop Up Net, you really want to Scoop Up Net and already have a Mew on your bench, because of course you will have to find a way to pivot back in. And plenty of cards to think about discarding. First of all, just going to look through with the Quick Ball to find Scoop Up Net, and I'm sure we'll finally see Origin Form Dialga V come down.
Yep, it's been waiting, and sure enough, it is going to be time. And I think this is also just a nod to the fact that there are no Metal Saucers available. You only have 2 more, and you have that 1 Raihan, as we saw another one in the prize cards too. It's just really unfortunate prizing here. And you're going to have to show what your game plan is very early on here. So expect to see energies come down onto the Origin Form Dialga, and from this point, you're kind of just going to have to sacrifice a couple of these Mews right now. Hopefully it's just the Cramorant from Caleb's side. You give a couple prizes away, and then you get your strategy rolling here.
So the Trading Court will be used. Can put the energy back to the hand. We see Metal Saucer already in the hand as well. Will be the attachment for a turn onto the Dialga. It does have Switch as well as the Metal Saucer. So, of course, Dialga V does have an attack that accelerates energy, but Zacian V's Intrepid Sword ability will be a good way to end the turn, and plenty of cards to work with. You also leave up the Mew in the active, which Caleb can easily take prizes on that too, but of course, the Zacian is already damaged. A lot of things to think about. The Colress Experiment waiting there for Caleb, as Oranguru so nicely stacked it on top. We'll see what these 5 cards are off Colress. We'll now enter the Mirage Gate requirement needed for 7 cards, as more energies, more cards, but nothing too terrible to have to Lost Zone away.
Yeah, this looks very strong here for Caleb. I'm going to be eyeing up the potential for an escape rope this turn. It would line up very strong with the Zacian V. Simple knockout there for Cramorant, or potentially putting a lot of pressure onto that Origin Form Dialga V right now. We see that there's 2 copies of the card in this deck list, so certainly the potential is there for a big swing turn.
And a Suing Heavy Ball, a big-time grab. We haven't even talked that Radiant Greninja has been sitting in the prize cards this entire game. Caleb able to fetch that out, replace the card, jotting down some notes to just check the prize cards here, and that's a great secondary benefit of a Suing Ball. Of course, it's not in your deck just to check your prize cards. You can do that by yourself. It's a little bit harder, of course.
Well, an important card to note in there is that escape rope. At least one of is going to be stuck there for now.
Caleb playing 2 escape rope in the deck, so only having access to 1 so far. I believe we saw 1 get played on the first turn of the game, so Caleb don't think has access to that card as it speaks. Does have a way to pivot out this Pokemon from the active spot, but a lot of times with Cramorant, you're expecting to get knocked out back. Is it even worth digging more with Flower Selecting when the free prize is here in front of you with Mew?
Yeah, it's honestly, it might be go time right here for Caleb. Just continue to put some pressure on. You've seen your opponent show some weakness, and when they show the Dialga this early with just 1 energy, I'm not expecting to see 3 saucers or double saucer Raihan this turn.
So concealed cards, pretty much drawing a free 2 cards using the training court to bring back the water energy and then pitching it away right away with that ability. It works perfectly in this deck when you're already playing so many ways to recover energy cards. And that's the question again for Caleb. I mean, you're playing against a very aggressive deck, so you kind of have to maybe in-tune respond aggressively. So Comfy will come up with the switch card. Flower selecting again, looking at the top 2 cards, and an easy choice there, putting Battle VIP Pass in the Lost Zone.
Yeah, I think if this turn ends with a Sableye attacking and placing damage counters on the Dialga V, that's obviously got to be one of the strongest plays. You don't set up the Raihan from being played here. And looks like Caleb understands, obviously, getting to the magical 10 into the Lost Zone is going to be very crucial here.
So this Comfy will do it. 10 cards now in the Lost Zone after this grab. Capture energy will hit the Lost Zone as well. So far, Caleb hasn't gotten rid of too many energy cards from play. Mirage Gate, of course, active as well, so that's a potential option. Maybe eyeing up the Radiant Greninja to potentially attack. Could spread some damage on the board.
I think this is basically just going to be for retreating purposes, but it's also nice to just get another energy accelerated down as well. And certainly we could think about the Radiant Greninja in the future here.
The energy can always go down to Greninja. It is a good card to always have as a pivot, as a backup option. It's a Comfy as well. Listen, it's not going to be using Spinning Attack anytime in this matchup, but...
well, hang on. There's a chance.
All right, you might let him cook, right? See what he's got in the kitchen.
Right.
Of course, going to just attach the energy for turn to Sableye, and this is where this deck starts to take off. It's skill from the first turn of the game. You're limited to maybe Cramorant as your attack, but as you progress through the game, your options open wider and wider. Lost Mine allowing you to put 120 damage however you'd like on the board. Can easily take a knockout on this Mew. Finishing the Zacian up is also potential, but even putting pressure on this Origin Form Dialga V, what choice here would benefit Caleb in this situation?
I like placing a lot of damage counters onto the Dialga. I guess there is some merit to getting the Zacian V within 90 if you wanted to, but at least if most of the damage goes onto Dialga, we're feeling just fine.
So interesting choice to put 2 damage counters on Mew. Of course, Derrick is playing copies of Scoop Up Net to be able to heal that out of the active, so maybe Caleb has got to play down the line potentially to try and finish this Mew off. Not playing anything like Galarian Zigzagoon to make a weird headbutt tantrum chain with a couple Scoop Up Nets. So this is pretty much on Derrick. The Dialga is pressured. There's lots of damage on it. How are you going to take advantage of this turn to pretty much swing the tempo back in? Your opponent hasn't taken prize cards, but they've spread damage everywhere. Caleb is in a more than happy position. Is able to find Quick Ball off this Mysterious Tail, so this can potentially find another Mew. Lots of options in the deck, but this is Derrick's turn to pretty much put something together and put Caleb in a position where he has to respond. Otherwise, you're giving this Lost Zone engine, a deck that's expected to give up prizes this early in the game, way too much time to set up, and they're already at 10 cards in the Lost Zone.
Yeah, and there's no way that we see the Star Chronos this turn. There's only the 2 Metal Saucers that are available right now. There is no card like Silene that can shuffle that, or at least get that card back on the top of the deck, and then you find it with the Mew again. We've seen that featured in some of the Dialga lists from the past. That's not going to be happening here, so maybe we could see the Metal Blast lined up for a knockout, and we do see that second Origin Form Dialga V come down, so maybe going to have to split the energies here this time.
And it's smart to not knock out these Pokemon, like take the easy knockout on Mew. It's there, right? It could have been knocked out with Cramorant or another Pokemon because you do activate Raihan as a way to allow your opponent to accelerate energy cards. Splitting the energies on this Origin Form Dialga, maybe trying to just abandon this one. Of course, one of those V-Stars is prized, so you leave this 2 prized Pokemon in play with a lot less energy, and that seems to be the play here for Derrick. This Dialga essentially is a lost cause at this point. It's 1 turn behind where it should be. You could at least bring up one of these Pokemon, playing the Scoop Up Net to pick the Mew up into the active, and now you've got a choice. You could accelerate some energy with Dialga's first attack, can bring the Zacian up. It is a free pivot with the Air Balloon. This is a big crucial decision for Derrick. What do you do? Looks like bringing up this Origin Form Dialga with just a single energy on it and trying to dig through the deck a little bit more with Trekking Shoes. Finding a Scoop Up Net, but not going to do very, very much here. Risky choice as well, choosing to evolve this Dialga, taking a knockout, but the other one is in the prize cards.
Yeah, you know, taking the prizes is going to be nice, but you also need to draw the right ones.
So usually we don't see Metal Blast taking knockouts this early on with just a single energy card on. Of course, Sableye being a weaker Pokemon when it comes to its hit points, not its damage and spread potential at all.
Right.
80 damage will be enough to take the knockout.
Well, you did mention earlier that the damage onto the Mew was a little bit suspicious, and we did see the punish there with that scoop up net. I'm wondering if that 20 damage will ever come into play at some point. Obviously, Caleb is in a pretty tremendous position right here with potential to get another Sableye lined up and just continue to push all of this damage onto the board. And this is a trade that you're definitely feeling very comfortable with if you're Caleb. Just putting all the pressure on this Pokemon. And if you can remove it from play, there is no guarantee that we're going to see a second Dialga V-Star.
So Caleb's got to kind of route through these next couple of turns. How are these prize cards getting taken? There's a few options to knock out this Origin Form Dialga V-Star. We haven't really talked about the Snorlax, but the Snorlax is in the deck. It is a card that is able to deal 180 damage, enough to take the knockout on to this Dialga. It was actually set up perfectly as well with just 100 damage on it. So this could potentially give Caleb, of course, the Dragonite V, also a card in the deck. But for now, it's flower selecting season. Look through those flowers, see which one you like best and which one you've got to get rid of.
Well, this might be time, as we do see the quick ball coming down now, and there are 5 cards left in the deck. One of them is Big Daddy Snorlax, and he's looking to do some work here.
Thumping and snoring, that's all he does. Sleep around all day, but when he wakes up, he's angry and he's ready to attack. Does have a couple ways to bring back some energy cards. This is sort of the downside when you're pivoting through your deck so much and you're drawing so many cards. You're not left with many energy left when you're really just drawing through everything you possibly can. But that is why this deck plays multiple ways to recover energy cards. C2 in the deck also has not attached energy yet for turn. So an Ordinary Rod plus Mirage Gate means this Snorlax will be able to attack. And it looks like that is what Caleb wants to go for. Has the Scoop Up Net in hand. Can just put this Comfey into the hand, bring Snorlax up into the active spot. And yet Derrick going for this play of just taking a single prize, having the second Dialga prized. What attackers are reasonable options for Derrick? I mean, you have to deal 150 damage to the Snorlax. Brave Blade maybe, but Cramorant is already on the board to knock out.
Temporal Rupture?
I mean, listen, if there's a time for it, it might just be now.
Yeah, this is, you can definitely see the strategy lined up here for Caleb. The knockout perfectly here with the Snorlax. And then if you can follow this up against what you would expect from your opponent as the Dialga V-Star, you could maybe find that Choice Belt out of the prize cards and combine that with the Dragonite V for a huge 280 damage knockout.
And if you're Derrick in this position, I mean, your game plan is not clear. And Lost Zone this is a deck that takes so much time to play against. You're this late in the tournament, you can technically take a tie, but I mean, this is the age-old question. When is it correct to concede? How do you see yourself winning this match? You've taken a single prize card. Your opponent's about to answer. Take 2 prize cards of their own. They have a Snorlax in the active spot. As we will see the knockout, and Caleb just adding insult to injury, flipping double heads. This Snorlax, it still has some vengeance. It's still out here to hunt.
Yep, and we do not see the Choice Belt taken, but we know that that's not as important this time around as the Dialga V-Star is not available for Derrick.
No, not at all. No Star Chronos available. Still going to maybe power up this Dialga V. May not have information yet on over on Caleb's side. The Dragonite V is in the deck, and that will be a rude awakening right away.
Yeah. Yep, that would be terrifying. We're going to see Derrick continue to try to push along here, see if there's anything the Mew can find to help out. At least this turn, a Pokemon was knocked out by way of damage, so that is going to line up for the Raihan potentially, and that is some energy acceleration. But where do you even go at this stage? Do you have to just commit to the Zacian to continue to draw prizes?
No option is good. I'm just going to be completely frank. If you attack with the Zacian, the knockout is just there. You're trading 2 for 1. Last time I checked when I was learning Pokemon, you don't want to trade a single prize Pokemon for a 2 prize Pokemon.
Oh, I'm gonna jot that in my notebook and hang on to that.
Listen, I've got some wisdom here and there, you know what I'm saying? Finally, Metal Saucer is found, though, so that will be able to accelerate. Are there no energy?
Nope, that's not going to work.
That is unreal. This late in the game, using Training Court to bring those back, it's just, there's no energy even in this massive hand to discard. What is your play here for Derrick? Do you go back to the drawing board game 2, or I mean, it looks like you're going to play it out, but if this Ultra Ball is looking for the second Dialga V-Star, Derrick, unfortunately, it did not want to show up today to work.
Are we going for Crobat plays at this stage? The hand is still pretty big as well, so I'm getting worried.
Well, we're going to look through the deck and see what is left. Mew is still another available option, so that can be taken. I guess the only line potentially is try to take some prize cards, but what aggression do you have? By the time you find your Dialga, the game's going to already be over, and your opponent can just, it doesn't matter if you have 2 turns. They've already won by that point.
Yeah, well, Gotta keep trying things here. We do know there's 3 copies of the Energy Search, so perhaps one of those could be found here off of the Mew, but it's going to be another Ultra Ball. At least this one could thin the hand down a little bit and get towards the Crobat.
Yep, so these are the plays. But again, this is just time ticking off the clock for Derrick. What are you accomplishing in this game? What are you trying to find? You got to play to your outs sometimes, but when your outs are not in your deck and not available, can you even call them outs anymore at that point?
Yeah, you're not playing towards anything. I think you're hitting it right on the head as we see 20 minutes has now officially passed in this game here. Derrick is going to try to continue fighting this battle, but it's for what at this stage?
Yeah, and opting to not find Radiant Greninja amongst some of those search options, so we'll not be able to use concealed cards to discard these Metal Energies to bring them back with Metal Saucer. And we're just going to see the pass instead, so Derrick deciding to just play this game out. Maybe Caleb mismanages some resources along the lines, is unable to attack. Of course, very beneficial that Snorlax did just wake up. It just can attack this turn and take prizes if necessary. But Caleb 100% in a dominating position in the driver's seat this match. And this road screaming all Caleb to me.
Yeah, we could even see the Sableye come back down. There's a scoop up net in the hand, so you could just remove the Zacian V from play completely. That was the only thing that Derrick was really lined up for in this game, and I think that would all but close things out.
So there's the concealed cards drawing into the Kyogre and Sableye, both put back with the Ordinary Rod last turn to allow this Snorlax to attack in combination with the Mirage Gate. And yeah, Derrick understands that. There's no point to play this out. Caleb will take as much time as necessary to win this game. Caleb closes things out 1-0. This makes me wonder. I mean, of course, Derrick didn't have a great start out. 2 copies of Mew.
Oh.
And that's so tough. Radiant Greninja in the prize cards. There is a Hisuian Heavy Ball, but I mean, it is at least a little easier to find because of the Celebrations Mew. Does, however, start that, and we'll be able to utilize Mysterious Tail to start the turn off. A few good options to look at. Ultra Ball, Energy Search. Lots of Metal Energy. Have to imagine Ultra Ball is what you're looking for in this position.
Absolutely. Even without the information about the Radiant Greninja, just throw away some Metal Energies. You need these for the Metal Saucer, and this is about the only way that you're going to get these energies into the discard pile now, using these item cards to continue to push along. And going to get some bad news here going through the deck that you're not going to have Radiant Greninja to help out.
Nope, unavailable at this point in time, but plenty of ways to just discard Metal Energy without the help of Radiant Greninja. Ultra Ball, one of the few ways that can be done, and one of the best ways that can happen, is finding the Origin Form Dialga V off of the Ultra Ball. Cannot play supporter for turn, but does still have access to the attachment. Now has energies ready to go with Metal Saucer. Things are looking a lot better here for Derrick in this first turn.
Yeah, the rest of the hand doesn't play out too well, and we're going to see an interesting play here. The scoop up net into the switch just to get another effect of that Mysterious Tail.
Well, the problem is Cramorant is a very real threat on turn 1, right? So if you're knocking that Pokemon out, you're not going to be able to utilize the Mew. Mysterious Tail looking at 6 more cards. Does find a Quick Ball, so that can find yet another Pokemon. Not much going on in the hand, just has an Avery. So Quick Ball can get rid of this Metal Energy. This could signal a Crobat to draw some more cards, fill the hand up, and try to dig as much as possible in these early turns to try and outpace Caleb.
Yeah, and the Cramorant's also a double-edged sword. If your opponent takes that early knockout, then you line up that Raihan potentially. We've already seen so many of these energy cards hitting the discard pile early on, and that could lead to Derrick getting one of those magical turn 2 Star Chronos.
So can still put Training Court into play. That will guarantee the attachment at worst later on in the turn. As Crobat, Dark Asset filling the hand all the way up.
Wow.
And these are some solid cards. Finding another energy to attach. The Metal Saucer Trekking Shoes can see yet another card. Is going to keep it. Is a card you're, of course, going to want down the line. That Origin Form Dialga V.
Yeah, we like that one. That's very important to how the game plan works. Sure enough, also has the Metal Saucer to boot. So this is going to be a very strong opener. The only thing missing is that Zacian, but we'll go ahead and pass the turnover, feeling pretty confident.
And even finding another Mew would have been solid there potentially, as, of course, the Cramorant is a potential going back into the play. Hisuian Heavy Ball, exactly what Caleb wants to find on this first turn, can now fetch the Snorlax out of the prize cards. Is going to get the bad news to see, hey, I'm going to want these early on in the game, and I'm not going to have them. Colress as well in the prize cards is not something you want to see. This is how you start getting set up, drawing cards, looking through your deck. Of course, you're going to just jot those down, have information for that in the next game. So Caleb has a lot of options in this first turn. Can play the supporter card, can attack as well. You do see this deck attack a lot with Cramorant. But again, we said this before we watched Pablo yesterday. This deck can be clunky at times if it doesn't set up. This will be a big test to Caleb's deck, how it was constructed, how it was built, how consistently it can get going, find Battle Pass, find Colress, and get attacking.
Yeah, I mean, the number one piece is starting Comfy. That's so important because it just buys you a lot of efficiency. You're going to have that card already in the opening spot, and then switching between it, using all of your switching effects to maximum use, getting all those cards into Lost Zone, just becomes that much easier. And we're going to see off of the Colress's experiment a couple more choices. I think another Comfy is available, and we see some switching effects too, so definitely a strong opener here.
It does have Comfy, but a lot of awkward cards. These are Pokemon you want in this matchup. You haven't revealed Dragonite, so that still is a surprise card over against Derrick, but there's 2 Mirage Gate in the hand. How many can you afford to get rid of? Getting rid of the Kyogre, that can be a powerful card to end this turn. Could that affect Caleb in the endgame?
Yeah, Kyogre is definitely a card that would be very strong in this matchup. Doesn't have full information that Derrick isn't running the Manaphy, so maybe not going to go for that strategy this time around. But it definitely is a great way to knock out a Pokemon, perhaps like that Crobat V, along with that Zacian, and take a huge 4-price swing.
And a tough choice here off this flower selecting. Energy Recycler and Water Energy has to get rid of the Energy Recycler because of the high amount of energy cards that are already in the prize cards. These are the choices. Doesn't have any access to Battle VIP Pass or ways to find other basic Pokemon. This might be on this escape rope to potentially put up this Comfy, but at the same time, you want to maybe take an easy prize card on this Mew, so it's sort of a double-edged sword, but you need to do this in this position. When you need to draw cards, you need to look through your deck and try and get set up.
Yep. Derrick is going to have to make a choice here, actually going with the Dialga V, so this is certainly a dangerous spot here where we could see some damage getting placed on this Pokemon that we weren't expecting early on.
No, not at all. You want this Pokemon to be as fresh and healthy as possible early in the game. I mean, if you find Battle Pass, you're slamming it down, unless it's a card that like you need in your deck. And it is Scoop Up Net, but both of these Comfy have already used their ability. However, no Pokemon has retreated yet, so what could potentially happen here? Scoop Up Net can pick up this Comfy, an energy card can retreat it, and we could see one more flower selecting. And because of how poor the start is for Caleb, has to go for this line of play. Scoop Up Net picking up the bench Comfy. Don't see that happen a lot. Energy will go down. It's the active. Here we go. Big 2 cards for Caleb. What do we see off of this flower selecting? Looking for Battle VIP Pass, some way to get set up. And no, does have another Comfy, but that can't be used this turn. There's no more switching cards in the hand. You see 5 cards total already off this first turn. No Cramorant to attack. No way to put on pressure this turn.
Yeah, it's just drawing these cards in the wrong order. It's so awkward. Finds all of the Pokemon that he would have liked off the Battle VIP Pass instead.
Supporter's been played for turn. Pokemon has retreated. Energy attachment has already been played down. And that's it. No attack. A big opportunity missed for Caleb. Can Derrick run away with this board position? And immediately playing an Avery, punishing Caleb for benching all of those Pokemon right away. Having to get rid of the Sableye that will have to be brought back later on in the game with the Ordinary Rod.
And we will see the aggressive Origin Form Dialga V-Star come down here, and that just means that we're going to see this chaining together of the Metal Blast, just taking knockout after knockout, putting a lot of pressure on Caleb to find a response.
Having access to the attachment for turn, putting it on to that active Origin Form, Dialga V, and a big find there in Hisuian Heavy Ball, is able to get the Greninja card out of the prize cards, start drawing some cards. Not much was going on in this hand before that. You passively draw cards, you can bring the energy back every turn with Training Court. It creates this mini loop. You draw 2 cards, you bring the energy back, you draw 2 cards, and these Lost Zone decks are not playing a lot of stadium cards to counter opposing players' stadiums.
Yeah, Propagate Trade is pretty good, even in 2023.
Listen, I miss it. I miss Execute. That was a great card, but not about our favorite cards here. We're seeing what these players can do with both of their decks. Utilizing concealed cards does find Boss's Orders and Raihan 2 potential options for the following turn. Of course, you cannot use Metal Saucer onto your active Pokemon. That is one of the downsides of the card. So there's no way to threaten something like a Star Chronos this turn. But if there's any turn to utilize that against this deck, it's as early as possible to remove these support Pokemon. But there's Metal Blast taking the prize. Derrick, first one to strike in this game too.
Yeah, this is a great line of pressure. Of course, nothing else going on the bench here, and decided not to play that quick ball down and try to get another Pokemon lined up. So gonna have all his eggs in this basket here, but Caleb hasn't shown anything so far. Gonna try to draw a little more here with the Radiant Greninja and at least to get to this Lost Zone to 7.
again, every time you're drawing cards, which is good, but you're getting rid of energy cards that you want access to as soon as possible. Another tough draw. No Colress has access to Birdkeeper, does have to get rid of the switch card in hand. Might just have to be the Birdkeeper supporter. You're still one card short. However, this bench Comfy has not utilized its flower selecting ability. And it looks like that's going to be the play for Caleb. Switching this into the active, drawing 3 cards. First doing that. And we will see potentially a Mirage Gate attack into this active. But when this Dialga is already swinging, it's got 0 damage on it. It's already taking prize cards. If you're Caleb, you've got to be worried about something like that in this position. Yeah,
we'll see what exactly the strategy is here for Caleb. It would make sense to go ahead and get aggressive with the Snorlax, get some damage onto this Dialga V-Star, and then eventually maybe you line that up with a Sableye. You can remove that Pokemon from play and not activate one of those Raihan. We know that's very important for this deck when they're going for their second attacker. They need to find a way to accelerate the energy cards. You've already seen your opponent using Metal Saucers, so perhaps that would avoid a Chronos later on.
So there's the flower selecting ability. We'll look at the top 2 cards, of course. We'll now be in the Mirage Gate zone. We are entering the Mirage zone. Energies can be accelerated. But again, tough choices. You want Scoop Up Net to move this, but you now have so many energy lost zones, so many energy discarded. Of course, the unfortunate prize cards, too. I have to wonder how many energy are even in deck here for Caleb to utilize this Mirage Gate on.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a little worried here. We also see 2 in the hand as well. So, down a lot of potential ways to attack with these Pokemon here.
Of course, still time left in the round, still choices to make. That Snorlax is on the bench ready to attack. However, the switching cards are existent in hand as well. Looks like going to just try and put the card back in with Oranguru. And of course, this card does allow you to protect yourself against Marnie, but it can also put cards temporarily back in the deck, which is helpful with Mirage Gate.
Absolutely. Having those 2 energies there, just go ahead and put one back on top, and then eventually you could just bring that right back with the Mirage Gate onto one of your Pokemon here. And we see that Caleb is holding on to that water energy, so maybe this is a nod to the Dragonite V now.
Needed to put that energy back just enough, not originally, but with the Primate Wisdom, putting the energy card back, this Dragonite V is ready to go. I'm not sure Caleb has the choice belt like he was looking for. That would have been a big-time swing to take a knockout on this Origin Form Dialga V-Star. And then what does Derrick have left? We'll see if the cards are possibly there. Could utilize Scoop Up Net on the Greninja. However, the energy cards don't necessarily exist. However, Training Court has not been utilized yet, so there's a few options to look at. Of course, the Comfy does need to pivot out of the active spot. Still potential digging here for Caleb. Does have 2 copies of that card. Going to try to utilize these to put himself in his best position as possible, and it will be the choice on Greninja. These are a big 2 cards. Let's thin the deck out as much as possible using every ability that possibly could have been here. Here we go. 2 cards. Do we see the choice belt? No, but does find the Pokestop. That could be played down to try and dig through. Are we spinning the wheel here, Kyle? Are we going for it?
It definitely could be time. Caleb has done a great job of thinning out right now. Gonna go ahead and look at these top 3.
No. Misses and has to get rid of a Colress and another energy at the expense of grabbing Battle VIP Pass into this hand.
And even another switching effect or something like that would have been helpful here. But Caleb's just going to have to cash in on the damage right now, which is certainly fine. And it lines up for a Sableye down the road, but it's not what he was looking for.
So luckily, Dragonite does have 230 HP. So Star Chronos is not taking a one-hit knockout. So that extra 10 HP coming in clutch for Dragonite in several different scenarios. But there it is. Dragon Gale, 250 damage, damaging the bench a little bit, but it won't be too relevant in the long run. As Derrick starting the turn off with a few solid options. Does have access to Switch and Air Balloon. Those cards can allow this Dialga to get back to the bench where it wants to be so that Metal Saucer can accelerate energy.
Yep, that would be helpful here if we're looking for the Star Chronos on this turn. Of course, it does feel awkward that you're not going to be able to knock out the Dragonite in combination and take multiple Pokemon off of the board in that way. Maybe just going to have to take the knockout on the Dragonite V with 2 attacks back-to-back.
Concealed cards, 2 more cards for Derrick to look at on this turn, finding essentially what is 2 energies in the energy and energy search. Now, Boss's Orders is a potential for Derrick, but of course you are staring down the Dragonite V. But without being able to do enough damage, is it worth it to try and just swing in and do a little bit to finish it off later? Or do you have to ignore this big threat that's ready to just knock out any Pokemon you bring up this turn?
Well, if we see double Metal Saucer, then Potentially, we could see the Zacian V come into play, and that lines up for a Brave Blade knockout, but you're asking so much of your deck here. We're going to go ahead and take a peek. 1, 2, 3 saucers available. Going to need some help here.
So no way to modify damage at all. And again, 10 HP, can't stress it enough. That is so important on the Dragonite to play around that range. Does still have access to a second Crobat. So lots of options to thin the hand out. Energy attachment can still go down. The Quick Ball can also discard some cards as well. Even Pokestop can be a beneficial card for Derrick in this deck because there are a lot of item cards.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. Go ahead and fill your hand up with the Crobat V, get as many cards as you can, and then maybe use that Pokestop afterwards. You might be able to find the right pieces to actually make this happen.
So Crobat, of course, seeing play since its release in Darkness Ablaze. Very similar to that Shaman EX setup ability, drawing cards until you have 6 in your hand. So let's look at what else can be thinned out. Does have the energy card that can be put down. But no, just going to opt to draw a couple more cards. What do we see? No Metal Saucer. Can maybe dig with the Trekking Shoes. Does find a Metal Energy, going to discard. Do we see it? No, just another Quick Ball. Those Metal Saucers are still chilling in the deck.
I think we saw the reset of the Radiant Greninja, so potential to continue to draw there, but then you don't have an energy in hand for the turn. You'd have to find even more help.
So there is another Quick Ball. This can grab yet another basic Pokemon out of the deck. Could grab a backup Origin Form Dialga V. Of course, this one is threatened by multiple things in the following turn. Not just an attack, but even Lost Mine on the Sableye. So why not get yourself a backup attacker, Origin Form Dialga V on the bench? And since so many Metal Saucers haven't been committed, is there the potential for Derrick to, again, play this strategy of abandoning what you've built up if you miss this turn and go for your other Dialga?
Well, we'll see if Mew is able to help out here. The Saucer would be very nice, and I don't think we see it.
Still not there. Energy Search, but you've already committed your energy attachment for turn at this point. What option do you have available? Don't want to scoop up net either because you already have your Air Balloon on as your pivot.
You could use that in combination with the Radiant Greninja and draw once more with the concealed cards, but that's so many energies that you're throwing away into the discard pile. Eventually, you do need to have some of these to attach, and we've already seen the training court go down. And wow, look at that. Yeah, all 3 of those Metal Saucers are hanging out together. Need to see those go to the top of the deck, my friend.
That's how it works sometimes. That's how the cookie crumbles. It's the energy in hand. Now off of this energy search. I have to imagine, yep, the concealed cards is your only way to draw cards this turn. If you're not using your V-Star attack with this deck, what are you doing? But does find Metal Saucer, can attach the energy card to this Origin Form Dialga V. Has the attachment for turn, so interesting to not attach before Crobat, but here we go. We're finally going to see it on stream. The Master of Time itself, the Lord of Time, Dialga V-Star, able to potentially use Star Chronos, and there it is. Star Chronos doing 220 damage, so just short of taking this knockout. But of course, Derrick will pretty much just say, hey, that's cool, I attacked. I get to do everything over again this turn.
That's right. Well, the rest of this turn, I'm not sure what it's going to have in store for us. The supporter choices aren't very good. We see multiple Raihan along with the boss's orders, and the only Pokemon you want off the board is already in the active spot.
Again, I mean, you're taking your extra turn, but with how much damage this Dialga would have done, I mean, Metal Blast for 5 energy would have taken the knockout at this point instead. So that has to be what Derrick is thinking about. Of sure, you get this extra turn, but Derrick is really going to do nothing with the extra turn. Of course, 5 energy on this Dialga means that Metal Blast was dealing 240 damage, but instead, just using Star Chronos and Metal Blasting the turn after, seems like it may have gone to waste for Derrick.
Yeah, I think this is just a nod to the fact that you're never going to get 5 more energies onto a second Dialga V-Stars. Yeah. So you just read Star Chronos as deal 220, draw a card. And that's pretty good, I guess. And it's going to be enough here to at least take the knockout.
And Caleb is doing everything in his power to manage this deck and utilize the attackers that are needed to take this Dialga. We saw the hitting with Cramorant early on and then Snorlax to finish off. We saw Dragonite deal enough damage to pressure the Dialga to attack that turn. Caleb understands, even against a Fringe deck, knows what he has to do to pilot and pivot this matchup.
Well, we do see, I believe, at least 8 now in the Lost Zone here, and the Colress's Experiment lined up perfectly to get to the magical 10 now, and we see the Sableye as well in the hand, but of course, we've talked about this so often. The energies are very awkward here, as we've seen plenty in the prize cards, some into the Lost Zone, and into the discard as well.
So not the hardest choice for Caleb. Has a Battle VIP pass and a few Pokemon that aren't as necessary later on in the game. I think just considering if the extra 10 damage on Zero Aura could be relevant, but Caleb chooses not to, throwing that away in the Lost Zone, and there's plenty of ways to take this attack. After finding Cramorant now, that can get there, utilizing Spit innocently. We are now at 10 cards in the Lost Zone, so Sableye is also an online option, but honestly, there's like nothing happening in this hand, believe it or not. Using Pokestop, getting lucky, finding 3 item cards, and this opens up so many doors for Caleb now. Pokestop coming in clutch, spinning, and getting the items they need.
Yeah, even the Ordinary Rod just gets some energies back into the deck, and then you have the Mirage Gate as well. That's so fantastic. It would have felt like a lost turn if you just go ahead and use Cramorant into this Dialga V-Star. Instead, maybe we could see that Sableye come down and place some damage onto the benched Dialga V, and that would line up really well with a Snorlax knockout potentially later on.
So Caleb has to make a read here on how many resources Derrick has left. Can Derrick power up another Dialga V-Star on this turn? Is it worth getting aggressive and putting damage there? Or is there the ability to spread damage? Now, Crobat V is a great Pokemon at setting up, but it is very liable in the late game with how little HP it has.
Well, we do see that Derrick has managed to draw some prizes this time around, down to just 3 here. And easily going to see Caleb losing a lot of Pokemon in the late stage. So yeah, we see the nod there. Go in with the Dragonite V. Maybe that will be the closeout Pokemon after we see maybe 1 or 2 more prizes from Derrick's side.
Sableye is ready to go. It is grinning out on the field with the Lost Mine attack. Live and in play. Can find 2 energy cards, so potentially definitely seeing this like energy on the Sableye, but I think the consideration for Caleb is where does this other energy go? And Snorlax is a great Pokemon. We saw how clutch it was in the game number 1. After you hit in with Cramorant, you've got easy damage with the Snorlax later on in the game. And the last piece is how does this Comfey move? But there's a few options. Escape Rope works, Switch Cart works, opting to just heal the damage off, not very relevant, but of course, putting this Sableye in the active, Lost Mine damage. It's always the question where it goes, but one thing is definitely for certain. This active Dialga is getting knocked out.
Yeah, 9 damage counters to play around with at this stage. Could go ahead and remove the Mew from play too, and going to place the rest of it onto that Dialga V. Very strong here from Caleb. Going to see a lot of prize cards, and hopefully that leads to some energies to the hand.
So make sure the right prize cards were taken there. I think everything is in order. Did knock out the Dialga and the Mew, so has both of those knocked out. As we get into this next turn, having Ultra Ball over on Derrick's side. What is the potential grab here? Does have access to Mew. That can be discarded or put back into play. But again, you've just had all of your energy removed off the board. You're down 1 of your 2 Dialga V-Star. You've played several Metal Saucer. What is the play? And
Raihan does nothing. It's definitely a tricky situation. I'm looking through and trying to even find energies to close the game out. How many are even left?
Not a lot, so. I mean, Raihan is a potential play. You can bring the energy card back onto this Dialga. But
there
again,
are 10 metal energies in the discard pile.
Wow, so many of them 11. Gone. And I don't think there is any... Yeah, there's no way to put energies back into the deck already, but Raihan can put the energy onto this Dialga.
Well, weren't these Pokemon just removed by damage counters?
It's just knocked out.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's knocked out, it works there.
Okay.
So, luckily,
good clarification.
Yeah. It would be pretty bad if there were other ways to work. So it does work if it's just knocked out. Dialga can be found. Looks like instead finding the Zacian V. Hey, I mean, you get to play the route of if I'm not going to let you in, I'm just going to deck myself out instead. That's a potential, but... right now, Metal Blast, again, is dealing enough damage to take a knockout on the Sableye, doing 80 damage for a single Metal Energy. Also have not seen the attachment yet for turn. So we'll see the Dialga be evolved, but smartly there, Caleb putting 3 damage counters seems insignificant on the surface, but it actually works out perfectly with what Caleb is trying to do in these next couple of turns.
Yeah, the Dragonite V lines up very cleanly with this. 250 would be a perfect knockout here, and that is one of the last energies potentially available for Derrick. Maybe 1 more with a Raihan on a following turn here. And Caleb is going to have to try to make this work. Has plenty of cards in the hand, so maybe we could see the reach here for a big KO.
And just over 4 minutes left on the clock as well. Derrick will be unable to win this game, but could potentially force a game number 3, but it's going to take a lot here from Derrick, and a lot of misses over on Caleb's side. Derrick is at 2 prize cards, though, so despite everything that's happened, is fairly close to winning this game. Just needs to put in a couple of attacks and hope that this Origin form Dialga V-Star can stay up, but as soon as you feel comfortable, Dragonite swoops out of nowhere, flies into the battlefield, and is potentially ready to start going again, pending the energy cards. However, I don't know if they're there again. Are we going to spin the wheel again?
Yeah, they're there. It's the Recycler, the Scoop Up Net, and the Ordinary Rod were 3 of the 5 cards left. So going to go ahead and take a calculated risk here finding the Energy Recycler, and would have even been able to find the rest of it perhaps. Even if you see all the wrong cards, Comfy would have been able to help out there.
And now with the Energy Recycler, all of these energies in the discard pile. Not very many, but there actually is 4. Can be lined up to allow this Dragonite to attack. We already see the Mirage Gate in hand, the Scoop Up Net for the Comfy, and I'm almost certain this is what Caleb is trying to do. Can also utilize concealed cards smartly before to maximize the amount of energy cards you're putting back in with Energy Recycler.
Yep, we're going to see that Dragonite come down with the energy, and then surely you have to think that the Recycler is going to help out here, get some additional cards in, and then we just need to see the switching effect. And there is an escape rope, but that's not exactly the one you want to go with. But I guess regardless, you would get 2 prize cards.
Yeah, I think Scoop Up Net potentially is in the hand, but there's Mirage Gate.
Of course, that was drawn off the Pokestop.
Yeah, and then the Mirage Gate will accelerate these 2 energies onto the Dragonite. The deck is all energy cards at this point. Energy Recycler saving Caleb from being decked out, but at this point, there's still plenty of ways to put cards back into the deck. Dragonite is dealing plenty of damage, just enough to knock out this Origin Form Dialga V-Star. There it is. Scoop Up Net has access to the pivoting option, putting Escape Rope on the top of the deck with Primate Wisdom. Here we go. Dragon Gale ready to go. Scoop Up Net moving it out of the active. Dragonite is getting its time to shine in this game, showing what it can do. 250 damage to this active Origin Form Dialga V-Star, and this pivotal turn puts Caleb 1 prize card away for being at 10-2-1, an excellent spot to try and get into day 2. There it is, taking the knockout. Actually, it looks like
that's
playing a Sumi Heavy Ball. Sorry, the prize card's getting taken. I was like, wait, this is a 2-prize Pokemon. It's powerful, but it's not 3 prizes. Shortly, we'll be able to take these prize cards, it seems, as Dragonite is showing us that it belongs in this Lost Zone deck.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting card, and I'm not sure if anyone was looking for it before maybe Regitrago V, going, oh, what Dragon Pokemon are good, and then they found this and was, oh, it's got Shred and it does a bunch of damage. Yeah, we need this.
Absolutely. And if you're Derrick, your back is against the wall. What can you do in this spot? You're down a good majority of Metal Saucer. You don't have a pivot even to utilize Metal Saucer on this Zacian. We're just out of over a minute now, and it seems like the writing is almost on the walls. Just going to check Dragonite, make sure you understand. There's a card that not many people expected going into this weekend, but it seems like that surprise factor too. You expect these Lost Zone deck to slowly chip away at Pokemon, but that's not the case with Dragonite. It hits like a truck.
Well, we see the Metal Saucer and the Zacian, and the Raihan, excuse me, but maybe Pokestop is the magical card here to help out in finding a way to switch this Pokemon out of the active spot, along with finding 1 more energy card.
So how many Metal Saucer have been played? So Derrick's going to look through the discard pile. Let's keep our eye out to see how many have been played. 1 right away. That's it.
I think it's just 1,
Metal
yeah.
Saucer. So if this Pokestop can find some specific card at this point. So Derrick is just checking, what are the probability here of being able to take this knockout? If Zacian can be powered up this turn, it's able to take a knockout onto Dragonite. Zacian's a card that's just really in here to utilize Intrepid Sword in the first turn. If it's able to get 3 energy on it, 1 from the Raihan, 1 attachment, and 1 Metal Saucer.
Yeah, down an Air Balloon, down a switch, down a second switch. Those are not good. I was looking at what the rest of the options are here. Does it have to be Training Court found?
Oh, it looks like time has been called as well, so we'll clarify that. So Derrick is turn 0, but this game will be coming to a conclusion soon. So despite how dominating it's felt like Caleb has been in the driver's seat this entire game, this is the turn if Derrick wants to do this. However, the fact is there's 1 piece missing. Raihan can put the energy on, and the Metal Saucer can go and put this back in, or rather this Raihan can attach the energy, and it can switch into the active or get the energy accelerated, but it's 1 piece too short. Is just going to go and utilize Raihan first to grab the piece. And this could signal that maybe there's just a 1-of copy of something. Just Escape Rope is the only way to pivot out of the active. Metal Energy has to be the grab, and this Pokestop is going to have to hit Metal Saucer. There's going to be 3 cards here. There's about a 30% chance, it looks like, in the deck. Listen, Caleb has spun the wheel the entire game, has gotten lucky and found every piece. Maybe it's Derrick's turn to have some luck himself.
Well, this it all comes down to this. There's not much else going on here. The Radiant Greninja's in hand, but you can't throw away that energy. You need that attachment, as that is the last energy available here. The Metal Saucer needs to be found here off the Pokestop. One.
He found it!
Unbelievable. And Caleb just shakes his head, understanding that that is GG. Zacian is going to move up into the active spot and take a huge knockout here with Brave Blade.
What a huge knockout, finding the exact damage to knock out Dragonite V. And because this game is in turns of time, these competitors are going to tie. What a turn of events in the final turn. Zacian coming out of nowhere after that Origin form Dialga V was removed out of play, knocked out in combination with Lost Mine. Derrick finding a way to squeak a match point out and keep his hopes alive.